All right, we good?
We're good. Let's go.
All right, so this one's a little more crazier. So I really haven't physically seen anything out here, but man, the feelings you get, you can't shake. Sometimes when I'm cutting the grass, I just can't shake it. It's so hardcore that something's sitting there watching you, and I've gotten used to it now. And so there was one particular time that a friend that was staying here, we had a miscommunication about something, and I got a little upset, so I went to the top of the hill up there and tried to calm myself down. And the sun was going down, and I was sitting on this swing, and I was whistling, what's this song? Over the Rainbow, or Wizard of Oz, and I'm whistling it. I'm really getting into it, and as soon as I start whistling, there's those little tiny lights up on the trees.
Okay.
I'm like, oh my God, those are what we saw on the other thing over there, and they came to the ground just like the other ones did through the entire song. I just kept singing the song, and then at the end of the song, it was like it was over, and this thing was not more than probably 100 feet from me, behind trees and behind a bunch of pines where there's no way I could have seen it. And it let out this scream that scared the crap out of me, because I had no, this scream was, it was a Bigfoot scream. It scared me because I was done whistling and I'm having this cool experience, and I didn't think like there was going to be something watching and screaming at the same time. So that kind of unnerved me, but at the same time I was like, wow, this is really cool. This thing is responding to what I just did. And then the sun was going down. There was this light coming over the pine tree, a big light, a spotlight. It had no sound, and I seriously thought it was a UFO. I seriously thought I was coming to get abducted. So I started making my way down the hill. And as I turned around to look, I can draw a picture of this thing. I will never forget what this thing looks like. This was a military drone.
Okay.
It was white. It had a bubble on top of the drone. It had a camera, and it wasn't paying no attention to me.
Oh, okay.
It flew over my head, and it went after whatever it was screaming.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It was following it. I know it was following it. And somehow it knew it was there. I've never seen a drone like this in my life. It was too big for a person, too small for a person to sit in, but big. And it hardly made any noise. I'll never. I just that blew me away. I've never seen anything like that. But I've seen since then, since I've lived here, and since a lot of things have happened here. The neighbor told me that their house down the road used to be used as a military target for people like coming from Atterbury or whatever, and they'd say, oh, you got a trial run, you're going to act like, you got to bomb this, hit this, like a target, and you got to hit this house, like on a computer. Well, I think they changed it from their house to my house, because now I got these planes flying over my house, and then these helicopters will come, and they'll shine their lights on my house, and then as soon as they pass it, the lights go off. Now, whether they're doing a drill, or whether this has anything to do with anything else, I don't know. But that's happened a lot. And I'll go out there and wave to them if they want to take a shot. Go ahead.
Yeah, you're ready.
Whatever. I'm ready to move on.
I am too.
So that okay, so that happened. And so now this big picture is coming into place.
Okay.
Now I'm going to share what I did, my vision quest, what I saw on that vision quest. I heard there was two people helping me. One was a young lady, and she had run of the house. She can cook, read, whatever. She had a whole 2 days to herself, and she's an amazing singer, Native American singer. Well, 7 o'clock in the morning, I hear her singing. And I'm thinking, I've never heard that song. I don't even know what language it is, but it's beautiful. And then that was it. Maybe one song. I have no idea what it was. The next morning, same thing happens, except she stops, and a little girl is laughing. Another little girl that's with her is just laughing uncontrollably, and they're playing in the water. And then I'm upset. I'm thinking, why did this lady, bring this kid with her? This is supposed to be, it's dangerous for her to be down here. And so I stand up, and again I started thinking all of a sudden about what the locals said about hearing the kids and people playing down in the gully. I'm like, wait a minute, maybe this isn't her. Maybe this is something else. So I stood up, and when I stood up, something was still in the water. The sun was coming down over the ridge in the morning, shining on this particular spot of the water, and whatever it was standing in the water. The sun was shining on it, and it gave off this red color that I could never, ever describe what it looked like. So here's exactly what I saw. This thing was squatting in the water, and when it stood up, it was huge. It was not a Bigfoot. It was a man. It was a man about the size of a 10-foot tall man with a red beard and red hair.
Giant.
Yes, a freaking giant. I could not believe what I was seeing. When this thing stood up and the sun went through it, it had no idea I was there. It had no knowledge that I was there. It was totally oblivious of my presence. And when it stood up, I was just in awe how big this thing was. And the colors that it gave internally, not like a spirit. It was like a realm, like it was from another realm. I can't even describe. It was
like the Nephilim.
It was all red. He was wearing something. He
had a suit on.
There was something he was wearing, and I can't tell what it was because the colors it was giving off, and plus the sun hitting it, was just so radiant. It was like the colors of red, amber, and mixtures of all these weird sunlight colors. And so when it stood up, I noticed its long beard, its long hair. It almost looked like it had a hat on, but you couldn't really tell. And when you see something like that and your brain doesn't register, it messes with your head, and it messed with me so freaking bad. And when it stood up, it took one step on this ridge, took another step up the hill, and by the time it took its third step, it disappeared into the wood line. And I could not wait for this thing to be over so I can go down and look for tracks before the rains came, because I knew in a day or so the rains were coming.
What do you think it was doing in the water?
That's a good question. I felt like it was washing itself.
Okay.
Like, that's another thing. That's a clue. If it can make noise in the water, if it can splash, if it was putting its hands in the water, it was picking up the water in this pool of water.
Was it facing away from you or towards you?
I saw its profile.
Okay.
I was looking at its profile.
Okay.
And profiled as it walked up the hill. So now I'm freaking out. I go back there the next day, no tracks, not a track. But the part where he took one step to get on that ridge was up to my chest. Almost up to my neck. I would have to have leaped up there to get up on that ridge. He took one step effortlessly, like a step on a stairs, to get where he was for me to jump up there. This thing was freaking massive. And so this blew me away. But at the same time, it just shed light on everything else I experienced. Because now I know what was on Browning Mountain. Now I know why this red giant that built these things, that built some of the pyramids, that helped there in some of these tombs. I did so much investigating after this and found out now what makes sense. Okay, if there's a door, that means a door can be used. If he's guarding a door, he's guarding a door for an event or a time.
Okay.
There's Native American folklore that says the earth had swallowed up the red giants, and now the time is coming where the earth is going to spit them back out.
Okay.
The door is going to open. When that door is going to open, I don't know. But he's watching that door for his buddies to come through when the time is right. This valley overlaps time and space. It's a zipper in time and space where I was just able at the right time and right place to see another realm and another time overlapping each other through the light. That was the only reason I was able to see anything. So all these events that are happening are separated from the Bigfoots. The Bigfoots have now you got a Bigfoot. Let's just say, let's go back to Bigfoot. It ain't just one Bigfoot. It's all different kind of Bigfoots. Not only is it different kind of Bigfoots, you got a whole spectrum of just like people. You got Native Americans that had their places taken away, their people killed. Sure, they retaliated. Some of them were upset, some of them killed. Bigfoots are the same way. You're on their territory. Some can be friendly, some you can work with, some are rogue, some are angry, but you don't know.
Yeah.
Just like a wild animal, you don't know what kind of wild animal you're going to encounter. It's the same thing with the Bigfoot. So over time, I've made a relationship with this particular family, and the prints that I have, that I'm going to show you, are young ones. And it's a nursery. The nursery is where I encountered these pictures. So after
Is this the same location you
yes, where we did
saw
our
the-
vision quest.
or saw the giant?
No, the
Different
giant was in my
location.
backyard.
Okay.
And the other thing that I saw that reminded me of the giant was at Browning Mountain.
Okay.
Now, going back to the Bigfoot, when we had, after a wedding, we had gone out, decided the next day we were going to go out to the woods, and I was joking. I said, hey, I know there's a really cool beach. And I said, let's call it Bigfoot Beach. How much you want to bet there's going to be a Bigfoot tracks out there? And I was joking because it had rained the night before. As soon as we got out of the canoe, there's these footprints all over the beach. I was like, oh my God, I was kidding. And look, there's everywhere.
And how secluded is this location?
You have to get there by boat.
Okay.
What is on that beach is Hoosier National. You can't get there unless you hike in from the trails way, way on the other side of the park. You can't. The only other way is to get there is to canoe.
So they must have been fresh. Because
Oh, they were fresh. They came. You can see the prints coming down the hill, and they went into the water. There was 2 of them, and then when they came out of the water, right at the edge of the water, a baby had jumped off their back, and you can see the baby walking in circles and gets back on its back, and the 2 prints go back up the hill.
Wow.
That's what these are. This right here is where we go for all. That's right there is the ridge where we did the vision quest.
Okay.
Here's where we were for civilians. The civilians are on this side. Over there is all Hoosier National. That's where all this stuff is. Right down over here is where we saw the prints.
Okay.
So these prints aren't very big, but you can see how wide they are
Mhm. Oh,
compared
yeah.
to my boot.
Yeah.
And if you look really close, the toenails and the really gnarly pointy toenails on that 1-second toenail. And this one is the baby footprint. And the baby footprint, now you got to keep in mind, look at how deep that print is.
That's
This
the
was
baby?
only the morning. That was at night. This is the morning of that night. These prints were made that night. And so that's the baby. And if you look at how big that toe is and how huge that flat foot, there's hardly any arch. A baby can't. That's not a baby. That's this big.
Yeah, a baby would be
And it wouldn't make the
5
imprint.
foot, 5 foot maybe.
I don't know, but
4
it was
foot?
about that big, and it was deep in the ground. This little feller had to have weighed a lot for it to make those prints. So, those are the prints that came down, I believe, as a nursery, and those are the ones why what I've been trying to do is make a relationship with these things. And so far, now that I know what I know, if I would have done this all over again, I would have never gone up there and put people in jeopardy, because you
Yeah.
don't know.
You don't.
You don't know if they can snatch one of the ladies, eat one of the guys. I mean, because some of these Bigfoots have been known throughout history to eat people,
Yeah.
especially children, and it's usually seasonal, maybe when the seasons are bad, or maybe there's a rogue one, maybe one can't hunt, and it's going to take whatever it can to eat, just like
Maybe
a
one
person
has
would.
dementia.
Yeah, you
they
don't
could
know.
get the same.
So, yeah, so that's my story with what I can share with you, what I know. And now I know there's definitely something going on here, and it's been working with us. It does come around. We started leaving things for it. And here's the thing I wanted to say about this whole thing. Everything in this world has its place. Everything is a nation and species of itself and has to be respected. This animal is a lot like us, but it's on a higher level. It's on a very higher spiritual realm where I think some of them, maybe not all of them, can be interdimensional, where just like these giants, they interact on another dimension. The orbs interact on another dimension. And I think maybe some of these Bigfoots could interact on a dimension. Maybe I don't have the answers, but maybe they have to learn it. Maybe it's not something where they can just, like a baby can do it. I don't know. But I've also known that people have seen them and they had vanished and faded in front of them.
Mm-hmm.
So throughout history, there's documented cases of Tibetan monks,
mm-hmm.
medicine people, that have actually vanished in front of people and reappeared somewhere else.
Mm.
So why couldn't they?
Mm-hmm.
So my thing about this whole thing is that they should be respected, and I know the government won't ever allow the information to come out for a lot of good reasons. And one is, if like the spotted owl or the frog or whatever these species, endangered species list, as soon as you put something on the endangered species list, the logging industry is going to get hurt because they can't log those areas.
Right.
Same thing with the mining. And at the same time, what happens? You got a rogue or some that are eating people in the park. You can't go telling everybody that.
Mm-hmm.
It'll create a panic.
Right.
So it's just pretty much like you got to do your own homework. You got to do your own investigating. And you got to have the respect to say, listen, if there's things that say, you stay on your side, you stay on my side,
mm-hmm.
then listen to it.
Mm-hmm.
Because these things can mess with you.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
So maybe next time if
Wow.
it works out that, I can take you out there. I know we've been wanting to go back out there because we haven't gone out there this year to leave an offering.
Okay.
And leave a song because eventually we want to thank them for coming here and how they've interacted in ceremonies with us.
Okay, yeah.
They twice have interacted in ceremony, which is showing me they're on a spiritual realm.
Mm-hmm.
They've gone to people in their sleep and shared a dream with people that had no knowledge of these ceremonies. And then supposedly there was, I'll tell you this real quick, we had a ceremony, a Lawampi ceremony I was doing, and inside the ceremony something had come in and the whole floor went down. The whole floor just went, and something big came in. And we don't really know what happened other than we knew something else had come in and we didn't know what it was. And that was pretty much it. And I didn't want to speculate on what it could have been because I heard something that I knew was in there, but it was like, how can I say this? Like I knew it was there, but something else was taking over, like, don't worry, I got this. Don't worry, we got this. Like my helpers were stepping in saying, don't worry, we got this. And then it was over. The next day I get a call from a friend that lives in Washington, this young lady, and she said, Michael, did you guys do a ceremony yesterday? And I said, yeah, why? She goes, I had the most craziest dream. I had the dream that there was this family of Bigfoots, and then behind the ceremony, this door opened up from the ground like a hatch, and the grass opened up, and this mother Bigfoot opens up the door in this hatch, and the baby Bigfoot, they hand the baby Bigfoot up to the dad, and the dad takes the baby Bigfoot in the ceremony, and the mom holds her finger up to her mouth and says, shh, like, be quiet. And they take the baby in the ceremony. And then she goes, that was the dream. I'm like, that's pretty crazy. Now, if something like that happened behind my back and I didn't know about it, it could have very well happened. I don't know. But how could she have dreamt that? How did she know we were in a ceremony? And we all experienced something in this ceremony that we couldn't quite understand, but we knew something had come in. Now, with other medicine people, we've heard medicine people where they've had encounters where the spirit of that Bigfoot had come in and work with the medicine man's altar. So, and I'm not trying to do something like that. I just want to show respect because this is their territory. We live here too, and they live here too, and I want to show respect. And maybe by that, since they know who we are now, that these ceremonies have come here in my backyard, and they are like, oh, we know who this guy is. So here's the crazy part. Time and space. Now, what we're encountering here, 3 hours away, where my son lives, lives in a park, but he's also surrounded by suburbia, and not so much suburbia, but becoming suburbia, and farmland. But they're having encounters out there. Encounters where the Bigfoots are coming to him and revealing themselves to him and their family and their friends and showing them that there's something going on there. So, do they know that we're related? Do they know there's a connection? Are they reacting to us because they're family and we're family? Are they able to time travel in some way where they can get from one place to another? There's so many unanswered questions that are making me wonder how these coincidences can be so, like you coming here. This is why it was important for you to come here, because a lot of stuff's happened like just within the weeks to like amp everything up. And even with my son, he's like, hey man, he goes, that's really weird that you're bringing this up, because just yesterday and we've been having these encounters again. And so I thought maybe there's a reason behind this. Maybe there's this information needs to get out to just show people, like for example, going into Hoosier National, you can go into places that, to me, it feels desecrated, where there's no spirit left because so many people have trashed it. And then you go to these places that nobody has ever gone to before, that's so primordial and like back in time, spirit is still there. Oh my God. And it's just because people haven't trashed it. So maybe that's kind of, maybe the putting the word out there where people, because this Bigfoot thing's becoming a big thing and there's so much people don't know yet.
Oh yeah, I think you're right. Like recently I have been so drawn to do this, and people look at me like I'm crazy. Like, you know, you're just a regular person. I'm a mom and I work every day, and here I am creating this page, and I want to get the word out there. So like you said, they're not just physical. We don't think they're just physical. They're both physical and spiritual, because there's a lot of people out there that just think it's a physical creature like any other creature out in the woods. But there's a difference, and they want to know why, you know, we haven't found a body, or they want to, you know, they want proof. They want physical proof that they exist. But that's hard to do when they're both physical and spiritual, and they have abilities that we may not have.
Yeah.
So that leads me to believe,
I think the government has proof. I think they have them. We just won't ever get our hands on them. It's like aliens. You know, we'll never see one.
Yeah. So that leads me to some questions that I had, and you may have already touched on these questions, but I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so one question I wanted to ask you. Did you finish telling me what you wanted to tell me up to this point? Okay, the experience. Okay. But I know you have so many more, and maybe we can talk about those on my next visit. And maybe with your son.
Yeah.
Okay. So my first question is, do you believe that they're peaceful? And you mentioned that you just never know.
You don't know. That's why I think if you need it, if you want to try something to make a relationship with them, because you don't know.
Yeah.
You know, you just don't know.
Yeah.
So I think some are peaceful, and the ones we've encountered have responded to us and actually helped us, and seem to respond to us here on the property, like they respect it. But I've heard stories of even here locals where some had been chased off, and for good reason. You know, they're messing with their turf. These guys were out there shooting their guns and doing everything. They got chased off by a Bigfoot. You know, but
Okay. My next question is, how do you think they feel about sharing this space with us? Which you just basically, as long as we're respectful to them and respectful to the land,
your side.
More than likely they're going to be the same.
Yeah.
Okay. Where do they come from?
I think they've always been here.
Yeah.
And the same thing with like some people experiencing. Oh my God! I forgot to tell you one more thing.
Okay, go ahead.
This is a little bit, whether this is related to Bigfoot, I don't know, but this is another weird thing with this place.
Okay.
And the last question you just said, what I wanted to talk about was the aliens, extraterrestrial stuff.
Oh, I've got that on here.
Yeah, about and UFOs. A lot of times where the people have seen both and both.
Right.
I think it's the same thing that's happening to us. I don't think they're coming from another planet. You know, I think this planet is infiltrated with, a lot of different things seeded and brought here, and even maybe, manipulated with DNA and experiments right here on the planet, and some of them could be running around. That's a good possibility. But as far as, them coming out of alien ships, that could be the same thing as what's happening to us. They abduct us, they abduct them. They're probably just as dumbfounded as we are when they come out of a spacecraft. And they just, oh, look, Bigfoot's coming out of a spacecraft, and they're trying to scratching their heads figuring out what the hell just happened. So that's a possibility.
Right.
I doubt that they're connected to aliens in some way and flying spaceships. I think they're very indigenous. They're very connected to the earth. Everything I sense and feel, they're so connected to the earth. It's so far beyond what we can even comprehend, how they are connected to the earth, you know, like this avatar thing. So, what was the other question you were gonna? I want to.
I asked where do they
Oh.
come from, and you
Oh.
that question.
Yeah, I remember now what I was gonna tell you.
Okay.
This gully route right here eventually leads to the lake, and it's super deep, super deep. It's the highest plateau in the county going down to the lake level, and it's just amazing. It's like another world back there. And so one year, quite a few years ago, we were working on a garden back there, and there's a tower far from the tree line you can see on the other side of the lake that shines through the tree line. And so we saw that tower flickering. Then what caught our attention was that wasn't the tower flickering. It's something else, and it's actually in the woods. And it's getting brighter. And it's getting brighter. And whatever it is that's shining in the woods, inside tree level, is diamond shaped. And then it's given off this light that is so incredible, so unbelievable, that it morphs and two more lights come out of it. And it's doing this thing where it's morphing, where it's going back and coming back into like two balls, going back into one diamond, changing shape. And then it's like doing something. And it's half an hour goes by and we're watching this thing. I have to stop it, and it's getting dark. And then this thing gets super big and it just explodes like a tiny little bunch of pieces of fireflies come all shooting out in every direction all at the same time. And they go dispersed in the woods in each direction. One comes flying towards us, but it is totally oblivious to us, and it's hauling ass. And it's twice the size of a firefly, moving 3 times faster than a firefly, and it's cruising. I got the impression that whatever this thing was designed. It was on a mission. It was going somewhere, and it was sent somewhere. Now, whatever that was in the woods that did that, and once that light dispersed and all the little things came back, the light was still there. But these little things that took off just disappeared in the woods, and they were just gone. You couldn't see them. But you can see when they dispersed, you know.
Were they rods?
Were they what?
Rods.
No, they looked like big fireflies.
Okay.
It looked like an explosion of little tiny sparklers. And so the light stayed on, and I tried to go around the road and go back and see if I can figure out what this thing was. And I tried to get down in that gully. And by the time I wanted to get back down there and take a good look at what this thing was, from the distance, I'd have to say that if I would have probably walked up to this thing, it would have probably been as big. Oh, what would be something equivalent to this? That's maybe like 3 feet in diameter, maybe bigger, maybe smaller, because it morphed, but it was big.
Like an exercise ball.
Yeah,
that you can sit on.
Yeah, it was
Okay.
big.
Mm-hmm.
And so by the time I wanted to, start going down to thinking about going down the gully and taking a good look at this thing, it got too dark, and by the time I went around, and it was gone. But that's not the first time we've seen stuff like that out there. So what's the connection? To me this wasn't. To me this almost seemed extraterrestrial in nature, and it didn't feel dimensional.
Did it have a sound, like a
No,
motor sound?
nothing.
Or nothing.
No sound.
Just a light.
Yeah, and so that's what I kept saying about this ridge, this little rift right here. All these weird things happen in there, and I think it has to do with this energy thing, this ripple of time and energy.
So who owned this place before you?
The Johnsons.
Did they ever
Yes.
mention
Oh yes.
experiences?
Yeah.
What did they say?
When we first moved here, we had a one day to decide if we can get a man with a dozer up here, and I was praying and asking the grandfathers, like, listen, if you don't want us to be here, I understand, but if these ancestors out here, they can help us out, we're here to work with this land and put life back into it and respect it. And then we got a phone call 5 minutes later. This guy named Deckard was going to come in with a dozer, and then as he gets up here and he starts talking about the Deckard Ridge, that his grandparents owned it, and his grandparents told them guys never to go down in them gullies because there were spooks down there, and they would talk about these big blue balls that would float up and down in the gullies down there, which they were describing orbs.
Mm-hmm.
And so this has been going on as long as the locals have ever been here.
Mm-hmm.
No one goes down there, and that's why.
So have you ever put any cameras down there, or
No, no way.
you wouldn't?
No.
Okay.
No way.
Okay.
I'm not starting off a relationship with offending them or knowing, because
Right.
they're
Yeah.
smart. They know what's
Oh
going
yeah,
on.
they can avoid those cameras.
Yeah, and if they I'm not gonna. I'm living here. I'm not gonna piss them off, and
Yeah.
I'm living here.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
They want to play havoc, they can, and so far everything's cool. So I'm not gonna do anything to upset them.
Right.
I know they're here. I don't have to prove they're here.
Right. Right.
You know, so
Yeah.
that's my way of handling it, and so far so good.
Yeah.
No more rocks thrown at the cabin.
Good. Good. My next question was, should we worry about their extinction? It's just always something that I've worried about as we move
That's a good-
out.
Yeah,
Where do they go?
I think we ought to worry about our extinction,
Why do you say that?
because we're the ones that can destroy ourselves. They're the ones that are just going to live with nature, and nature will always find a way.
So we don't-
Nature
okay.
will always find a way.
Okay.
We have to worry about. We are the custodians.
Okay.
So I don't think. No, I don't. I'm not worried about them
Good.
disappearing.
Good. Good. I'm glad to hear that.
As long as we don't annihilate ourselves and with the planet
With
too,
them,
then we
yeah.
should be fine.
Yeah. I don't think that'll happen again. I don't think the powers that be will allow that.
No,
Do you?
No.
I hope not.
The powers that be that are changed.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
those energies are changing.
Yeah.
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 The other powers, I don't think can care less about anything.
No, just themselves. Yeah. Okay. We talked about them being spiritual beings, and if I was asking if they were somehow related to aliens, and you answered that one, are they related to us?
I think yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. I think we all carry a genetic code that's similar from this earth, and that's the other thing. Just going to switch gears here real quick. We've been working with the crystal skulls for a long time, and one of the experiences I had with the crystal skulls was when I left my body and they showed me something. One of them expressed how special we are because we're from this earth,
Mm-hmm.
and that we have a lineage and a heritage to this earth where others don't.
Okay.
And it's not just us. You know, the ones that were connected to this earth, these things are so connected to the earth far more than we can ever even begin to understand. And so that I think that's pretty cool. That something can be so connected to the earth. And yeah, we are too, but you know, we've also forgot that.
What makes them different than a bear or a cougar? What makes them so different? Other than they're different creatures, but
Their brain,
they're so
probably,
special.
because they're evolved.
They're evolved.
They're evolved, yeah.
Okay.
Evolved humanoids, or whatever you want to call them.
Okay.
Bipedal creatures.
Yeah. What's their lifespan? Do you know? Do you have any guess?
You know, I don't know. I would guess that if you look at nature, like some of these creatures that, like a turtle or a tortoise, for example, can live about 200 years and how big they can get.
Mm-hmm.
Some of these animals, like parrots,
Mm-hmm.
you know, some of the smartest birds, they can live up to 80 years.
Mm-hmm.
Wolves, you live up to 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
You know, dogs lifespan 10 to 20.
Yeah.
So if you look at some of these things in nature, they can probably easily reach 100. I would think. Yes, so it's like a man.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's it's a neat question, but I would guess probably
About the
close
same
to
as
100.
us. Okay. And do they bury their dead?
You know, that's a good question. Do bears bury their dead?
No,
You know, how many times have we seen a bear carcass?
I've never.
You know,
But I live here, so.
Yeah, and so that's a good question. And you know, if they were smart enough, you would think they would, because they wouldn't want to be found, or they wouldn't want to be desecrated.
Yeah.
You know, nobody's ever found bones.
Yeah, I did hear a testimony of one where he claims that he shot one
Yeah.
and covered it up with just
Yeah.
leaves and stuff, and then the next day when he came back, it was gone. I don't know if that's a true story, but
Yeah.
it leads me to believe that they came back to get the body.
Yeah, if that's the same one where the young boy shot it, where he found a piece of the flesh and they got DNA, and the
Yes.
DNA actually did come back as, other than what they, inconclusive or
Yes,
whatever.
yes.
Well, you listen to those people's testimonies, here's something that's really important. And I can testify to this. When you have an encounter with something like that, it changes your life.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, for example, somebody talked about when Christopher Columbus came here and the Native Americans saw for the ship for the first time. There was an argument. Well, would you see the ship because you never saw a ship? How would you know what a ship looks like?
It is so amazing that you brought that up because I was just talking about this like 2 or 3
Is
weeks
this being
ago.
recorded?
Yes, it is.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. Because that's important. Because when your brain sees something that it can't comprehend,
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah, you can talk about extraterrestrials, but if one walks through this door right now and presents itself,
Mm-hmm.
your brain couldn't handle it.
Right.
You would have a freaking meltdown. And in fact, people that in the military that had those encounters, some of those people killed themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Some of those people that were such deep believers in the church couldn't handle that what they've learned their whole life is blown out of the water.
Right. Right.
So I think, yeah, for the most part, the brain can't handle that
Mm-hmm.
unless you are somehow trained or rehearsed in these ways. To see the unseen,
Mm-hmm.
like shamans and medicine people, we see things that most people will never get to see.
Yeah.
I can spend hours and days telling you things that I've been able to see that and most people would never see,
Mm-hmm.
and most people couldn't handle seeing.
Mm-hmm.
But some of these things that I'm telling you now are things I've never seen before,
Yeah.
which is to me is pretty cool because
Yeah. I never
There's so much more
expected
out there.
the giant story. That is pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to get this off
Yeah.
to share this giant thing because I did not expect that either. That was the furthest thing from my mind until what I saw down there. That changed my life.
I forgot to ask you. So you heard her singing, and then you said she stopped, and then you heard the little kid
Yes.
laughing.
Yeah, that's why she stopped.
She saw it too.
No,
Oh.
whether they were connected or whether they were overlapping energies in another dimension, I don't know. I somehow got the feeling they weren't connected. I got the feeling somehow that the little girl and I could be totally wrong because I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But I got the impression there were two different things happening at the same time. Like dimensions overlapping each other. That's what I say about that place. I just feel like things overlap down there.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't shown you some of these pictures, and I haven't even begun to show you some of the pictures where somebody had taken me down there once and said, when the rains come and the waterfalls come, the fairies come out. I'm like, fairies, huh? So I started laughing. We're taking pictures. Then there's nothing there, and then I put my head in between these two trees, and I said, come out, wherever you are. And they took the pictures, and orbs everywhere. Something like this.
Wow.
They let us know when they're there.
Yeah, this one's in motion.
Yeah, there's quite a few in motion.
Now, were you playing music at this time?
No.
No?
No. Actually, I think we were just... Yeah, actually, I think I just sang a Thunderbeam song. But this one, that same time before the sun goes down, we reveal that these things are going from the ground up.
Yeah, I see that.
That blew me away. Because it's showing me that it's going from the ground up. You see them in motion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That is just unbelievable to me.
Wow.
Yeah.
So just for the listeners, I'm going to take pictures of these and add these to the, if it's okay with you,
Sure.
I'll make sure that.
Yeah.
But I'll add these to the channel. These are amazing.
Yeah.
I don't know how I'll do this one, but I'll figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah. You want to take just the picture? I don't care.
Okay.
I think I'm not too worried like I used to be anymore. Now that these energies have changed and with the political field, I'm not too concerned about things anymore like I used to be.
Very important question. Do they have their own language?
Absolutely.
What does that sound like?
Ugh.
Have you heard that?
I've heard it sounds like gibberish.
Mm-hmm.
There's times when I've heard things out here where you can tell they're communicating.
Mm-hmm.
Like you'd hear it over on one ridge and then basically grunts and screams.
Mm-hmm.
But there's been times when I've heard things that sounded like kids, like they were kids laughing and playing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's probably what the folklore, or the people in this area had
Mm-hmm.
talked about,
Mm-hmm.
what the kids playing down there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think maybe the adolescents where we that are camping, I've heard little laughing and things out there, and that's probably what I heard when I was digging the post hole diggers.
Mm-hmm.
They were calling my name.
Mm-hmm.
There were kids laughing. It was them. It was the little the Bigfoots messing with me on on that ridge.
Mm-hmm.
And somehow they know my name.
I've heard that they will hear someone else call your name, and they can associate that with being you.
Yeah.
And they mimic that.
Yeah.
I've heard that.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah, I can believe that.
Yeah.
Yeah. The funniest one was that chicken. I'll never forget that.
That is funny. And it sounded like a chicken.
Oh, it was perfect chicken.
Yeah. Do you ever hear owl calls that you know they're not owls?
We have this one owl. When we did a vision quest out here, there was some people out here that were some hardcore woodsmen, and two of them came to me and they said, "Did you hear that one owl?" And I said, "The deep one that sounded real deep?" And they said, "Yeah." They goes, "That is an owl that supposedly doesn't come around here anymore. It's super, super big and super, I forget the name of the owl, but it's not a great horned owl. It's something else." But I kind of chuckled and laughed because I'm thinking, nah, that wasn't one of the, that was,
Something else.
That was something else because you could hear the deep, someone mimicking the owl.
Yeah.
So there's been quite a few different things.
Wow.
Now that, we've talked, I'm looking at all this together now because I've never really shared this much information at one time. I'm kind of overwhelmed.
Are you?
Yeah, because
I'm kind of scared to drive home.
There's a lot happened. There's a lot happened there.
Yeah.
Now that I think about it, this is a lot, and I
Yeah.
really never realized how much has really happened here.
Yeah.
And I'd be quite frank and honest. I like it.
Yeah.
To me it feels comfortable.
Yeah.
I get excited when I hear them out
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
I'll give a couple of yelps too at the same time, saying, "Yeah, I hear you."
Yeah. Well, I know a lot of people will say, "Well, it's not natural," but it's the most natural thing. It's more natural than we are.
Yeah.
It is natural. It's part of the earth. What
Yeah.
could be more natural than
Mm-hmm.
them?
Yeah. Yep. And I do have quite a few more other stories than we can share at some other time.
I would
but
love to hear them and
it's-
share them if you'd
yeah,
let me.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's pretty, and sharing with other people and what they've shared and how the parallels are all there.
Yeah.
And it all makes sense now.
Yeah. But you've put a little twist on it with the giant, and I'm super excited about that because I know there's so much more than what we think we know. There's so
Yeah.
much more, and I think the reason why you have these experiences is because you live in the spiritual and the physical.
Yeah.
That's your life.
Yeah. That is
Not,
my
and
life.
that's not for everyone. Like, for me, I live in the city
Yeah.
and I work in the city, and that's what I know.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of spiritual stuff going on in the city,
Yeah.
but when you come out here, you really don't have a choice.
Yeah. You're in it.
You're in it.
Yeah. And the other thing too, and this is really important, is I'm by myself. When you're with other people, you're picking up on their energies. You're picking up on their thoughts. You're picking up on how you're working with that person. So all your energy is on that person. If you're by yourself, there's no one there to give you and feed that energy back and forth. So you're picking up, your antenna is going to pick up everything else around you,
Right.
not that person.
Right.
You take out that one person. If there's a lot of people, forget about feeling anything else outside. All you're feeling are the people that are in your space.
Right.
You take those people out of your space, then the only antenna that you're going to be able to, your antenna is the only thing you're going to be able to pick up is what's in your space.
Right.
And since that's happened in my life, I have picked up so much more. And the one thing that this is totally off the subject, is the collective consciousness of this planet.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. I am picking up on that big time, and I nail it every time. I know what's coming, and I see it, and I'm usually dead on.
What do you mean by that, if you don't mind explaining? Because there may be some people that can turn it off right now.
Yeah.
And there may be some people that are like, what does he mean by that?
Okay, this has nothing to do with Bigfoots. And, for example, I'm not big on political field,
Mm-hmm.
but extraterrestrials and all this dimensional stuff and spirits, I'm very big on. I've been having abductions since I was a kid. It's happened to my children. It's happened to his children. They keep it in the family. They've come and shared things with me. They've showed me things. They've taken me. There's this whole gauntlet of shit that I've been through with these alien abductions.
Okay.
And so with that comes some information and knowledge.
Now, are these the gray?
There's a lot more than the gray. The gray do the dirty work for this government and realm. And that day is over. That's over. That's
Okay.
changing.
Okay.
And so, where was I going with this? Oh, I'm not big on the political field. I don't pay attention to presidents and voting. But the day that Trump was inaugurated or whatever was made president,
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't aware of that day.
Mm-hmm.
I just knew that that day when I woke up, everything had changed.
Mm-hmm.
Everything was different.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't figure out what the hell just happened. As if though I woke up in another parallel universe. I wake up and I get 3 phone calls, one after the other, of people telling me the exact same thing. And one person saying, Michael, I just woke up because I was experiencing World War III. And when I woke up, I realized that was the wrong universe. It's the one I just left, and now I'm in this universe. He goes, am I making any sense to you? I'm like, you're making every sense to me. And then I found out Trump won. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is because the powers that be
Mm-hmm.
that are running this world with the control and the petroleum card and everything else they got, they run the money, they run the banks,
Mm-hmm.
they have all the banks,
Mm-hmm.
they have all the oil,
Mm-hmm.
they have all the media.
Right.
They control everything.
Right.
Well, just how they control which Democrat, which guy, if this guy doesn't work, if Obama doesn't work, if Clinton doesn't work, we got somebody else always lined up, so the cabal and everybody can keep their thing going.
Mm-hmm.
And so they'll even manipulate the votes to make sure that these guys all get. Well, what happened after years of manipulating and doing this, the tables got turned, somebody else manipulated, and Trump won.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't expect that to happen.
Right.
The timeline now has changed
Mm-hmm.
forever.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you look behind the scenes, who's running the show? Who's the man behind the curtain? Well, with the elite running the show, you got these extraterrestrials that have been given trade, been given pretty much whatever they wanted, free reign to do whatever they wanted, and they did, and they have. And the watchers that are watching this whole thing are saying, all right, you guys do what you need to do, but the day's coming where we're going to say enough's enough.
Mm-hmm.
Well, guess what? Enough's enough.
Mm-hmm.
And now,
Thank God.
and the reason is because that administration, and this isn't the first time this has happened in the history of this planet, that timeline has been changed because they will not allow this planet to blow up.
Right.
They will not allow an elite group to come over here, and yeah, you can run the show because it's part of this duality system that needs to happen, but that duality system's changing. We're going into singularity, we're going into, yada, yada, yada. And these new energies now are changing, and supposedly these extraterrestrials, the good ones, the ones that are working on the higher level, were going to give us a new form of energy, and the first administration didn't take it, and now Trump took it. And how do you get rid of the cabal? How do you get rid of the Illuminati? How do you get rid of all these people? You take away their money. How do you take away their money? You take away their petroleum card. How do you take away the petroleum card? You give the world free energy.
Uh-huh.
That's what I think is coming. That's what I say, that when I say collective consciousness on this planet, that I'm feeling things that are happening right now. What is going to be revealed has already happened. You just haven't heard about it yet. Why? Because for one, they're making sure that everything doesn't get revealed at once, so the movie can play itself out. And of course, they're running the media, so the media won't touch it. So there's going to be an event that's coming up. And this event, when they do the testing on the phones, this might happen, this might not. Chances are I think it's going to happen. When they test the phones, everybody in their cell phone is going to get a message about what's going to happen. And one of the messages about fake media, because they're going to reveal the truth. And when they reveal the truth, it's going to create a panic. It's going to create a lot of pissed off people. And whether there's riots that respond because of this, I don't know. But there's going to be this big upheaval and shift of energy, and it's going to all happen at once, because it's going to be a revelation to people, just like when I told you that people can't handle what they can't see and understand. It's the same thing here. They've believed in these administrations, they believed in everything they told them, and when they find out that's not true, and they find out the truth, a lot of these people aren't going to be able to handle it.
Mm-hmm.
This tribunal that's taking place, do you know what a tribunal is?
Yes.
This
Military.
is, yes.
Yeah.
This tribunal is death penalty by death.
Is that? Are you referring to?
The people that are being targeted for crimes against humanity that
Okay.
will be brought to light.
Okay.
And a lot of these people you would never have guessed. And even those that aren't being penalized by death will be incarcerated or watched. That's coming. That's coming like this month. It's
This
coming.
month.
Yeah. Between now and the end of this month, this will happen.
Wow.
And it will change. And so when I say feeling this shift,
Mm-hmm.
there's a huge shift going on.
Yeah.
And the powers that be have lost a lot of their power, and they're going to continue to lose their power. And the cool part is, we get to change things on this planet finally.
Yeah.
Finally, we get to. There's things that are going to change,
Yeah.
but at the same time, the planet's changing too,
Mm-hmm.
and we have to change with it. So.
Yeah. So, have you heard about a solar surge? Like, have you heard anything about that?
Yeah, well, we've been going through solar surges. I know we've been dodging a lot of bullets. I'm
Okay.
surprised we haven't got nailed really hard yet,
Okay.
but that's no surprise if we get hit again.
Yeah.
So a lot of
So-
info.
Well, I thank you so much, Michael.
Thank you.
And I can't wait till we get together again.
You
And
can take this picture.
okay, thank you.
You can have that one.
Thank
if you
you.
want to take these other ones, or do you want to take pictures of those pictures?
Yeah,
can
I can
do
take.
that.
Yeah.